I don't know if you guys saw the WWE.com interview that they posted recently, where it was a sit-down interview between Michael Cole and Triple H, and that to me, like, as much as it upset me, I'm like, this is exactly why we don't have top heels nowadays. Because when you hear a guy like Triple H play the heel role, everyone else looks so bad because he played the perfect heel. He wasn't upset. He wasn't making fun of anybody. He was just talking in a really calm voice, and he was making sense. A heel that was making sense. He was talking about the business decision, but everything he said just felt so right. And the fact that you saw Michael Cole consistently get aggravated at Triple H's just his relaxed presence, it was great.
The line that summed it up best for me is when he said that the whole Big Show thing was harder on him and Stephanie than it was on the Big Show, that he's the one that has to make the right decision. It falls on his shoulders to make the right decision. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I freaking love this new Triple H. I think it's the best thing ever.
I thought that segment was excellent, and one thing I noticed recently is I feel like they've been trying to add more dimensions to characters. Triple H wasn't just this one-dimensional, power-hungry guy. You saw different sides. You actually saw, even though he's still being, the bad guy, he's trying to be sympathetic and understanding, and he's trying to act like he's still the good guy. And, it was really well done.
And the great thing is that we were so worried that 2003 Triple H was going to come back, but this is in no way that guy, because every single week we would see the exact same promo, yet we saw this, a 15-minute, okay? In today's world of wrestling, we just saw a WWE.com post a 15-minute in-character interview with Triple H and Michael Cole. There is no way that would have happened even 6 months ago. The fact that they refer to the ring storyline with top talent in the company through the website, that to me, it wasn't even the fact that it was Triple H, but how often do we see a storyline progress through the website? We have to wait till Raw, because a lot of times SmackDown is the preview show, and even now SmackDown is all of a sudden just as important as Raw in the way that Triple H is actually showing up. Randy Orton is actually showing up. They're using SmackDown to
SmackDown
further
on the interview. They hyped it on
exactly.
the thing, like there's going to be a big thing, like a town hall meeting.
Yeah, as I was watching this, I was watching it, maybe during my break at work, and I was just like watching it, and I was like, I felt very much like the most invested I've ever felt in a storyline recently, and I was just like watching and thinking like, this feels really important. It feels like big. It feels like there's depth to this story, and there's so much they can do with it. And like, it was nice, to have progression of the story, not just on Raw, to have something to kind of supplement it during the week, to have you want to see more of it. And I think it's well done. I really think they need to do more stuff like this, because I think it really added to the story.
I mean, when was the last time that there was a WWE Wide Storyline where it wasn't just face versus heel going for the title type thing? Like, it involves a ton of people. Like, there's Randy Orton, there's Daniel Bryan, but at the same time there's the Big Show, there's Dolph Ziggler, there's Cody Rhodes now, who had an amazing match with Randy Orton this week on Raw, I might say.
Probably not the best example, but the last one I can think of that involved something big was probably Donald Trump, with because it was Bobby Lashley, it was Umaga, Stone Cold. On to better storylines, it was probably Eric Bischoff and Ric Flair, but that was all the way back. That was over 10 years ago. I mean, that's kind of crazy to think about, but those storylines happened 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But question though, I was reading a lot about this, and I had a hard time answering it, because it seems like the most involved or elaborate storylines tend to be the corporate, corporate against the machine, against, these guys selling out. Do we need to rely on that in pro wrestling as a whole? I'm not even talking about nowadays, but do we need to rely on these huge storylines like that? Because it seems that between these things, the top storylines always revolve around the general manager, Vince McMahon. Always about this high authority figure, as opposed to just maybe for a while we got CM Punk and John Cena, but even that didn't take that long because then The Rock came in and all that. But how do you guys feel about that?
I think that history says that you do kind of rely on those storylines. Like throughout history, the most popular ones have always been that. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin was popular because he was sticking it to his boss. He was like beating up his boss every week type thing. Mick Foley was very popular because he was going against the McMahon Helmsley regime back in the day. CM Punk during the Summer of Punk, it was all about saying F the system, F the machine. For whatever reason, maybe it's just like us as wrestling fans wanting to say like, yeah, screw you, boss, I'm done with my everyday normal life stuff. And like living that fantasy through wrestling, but it's always been the most popular, so.
To kind of almost sidestep your question is I don't necessarily think A and B always have to equal C. You're saying, the big storylines seem to always involve, the authority figures, but that doesn't mean you can't have a big storyline that doesn't involve them. It just seems to always, it seems like it always does. But, I think there's obviously times when you can have that big story and not have the authority involved, but off the top of my head I can't really think of one. That doesn't mean to say that you always have to.
Exactly, no, but I think that maybe one of the reasons why the storylines stick out a lot more is that I'm thinking back to when I was like 8 watching wrestling. These are the storylines that stuck out to me, like growing up, it was either, the NWO or DX against the McMahons. It was whatever storyline involved these high authority figures because, part of me still thought wrestling was real, but not so much because of that. It's because it made me think, but the owner of the company, if he fires this guy, what's he going to do next? So it was a little bit less predictable because then it usually involved an outside figure either debuting, or it always involved this shock factor that you never really knew how this was going to end up.
And like I know I've said it before, it makes the stories feel important, and I think they took a nice break for a few years of not being heavily involved. Obviously they come back here and there, but like it's kind of nice to have them back again. Like it is reminding me of the stories from like Attitude Era and like the 2000s and early 2000s. It's kind of fun again to have them around because there's always a big story, and it feels important, and it usually goes on for it's a long-term story, so it is refreshing to have them back. Are you guys happy to kind of have the McMahons back, and how long do you think they should kind of stay around? Keith, I don't know, what do you think about that? I'm gonna drop a question on you.
What do I think? I love having the McMahons back. Like they're super entertaining, and I love the whole screw the boss aspect of it. But yeah, I enjoy it. I love it. It's the best.
I'll say this. Ideally, how long would you guys like the McMahon story to go on?
At least for me, we sort of talked about this before in a different aspect, but I think the payoff should be WrestleMania, but I think some sort of other figure should step up. The problem is, like I'm probably gonna punch myself if I see Linda McMahon come down or something, and I don't think with the whole political things that have transpired, we're gonna be seeing that. And even though Shane recently apparently stepped down as the CEO, yeah, like he stepped down as the CEO of you or whatever the hell it was called.
I don't know.
That to me immediately was like, okay, Shane, please come back, because that would be the perfect element. Or, he's not in WWE or anything, but like Eric Bischoff, someone needs to sort of step in just when this is starting to get stale. I think like come Survivor Series or something like that, we need to move up to the next phase.
Just to address the Shane McMahon thing, I did read about that, and someone on Reddit commented, so take that for what it's worth, that I guess it's customary in China at some point to have a Chinese person be the CEO of the company. It was sort of a lateral move, I guess. It's just how it works over there. That's what I heard. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything like, oh, Shane's, stepping down to jump in a storyline. So take that
Let
for
me
what
dream.
it's worth. I know. I'll let you guys have your fun speculation, but I just kind of wanted to bring a little bit of what I heard into it.